Okay, hello, good morning. Had a bit of a rough morning. I, well, if you don't have kids, I bet your morning was like you wake up, maybe you're a little bit tired, but like it's quiet. Maybe it's raining outside like crazy, which it is doing here today. And you go and you eat some food, maybe you make some coffee, you sit down on your couch, you watch some YouTube flicks or something, and you kind of ready for the day. Well, in this house, like typically it isn't like this, but everything was starting out just fine. And then my girlfriend is getting like super pregnant now, so she's not able to like deliver our daughter to kindergarten because we don't have a car. We use our bikes. And so I have to do it, which is perfectly okay. But of course, my girlfriend leaves early to take the bus to work, and my daughter doesn't want to put on her boots because they are in the kindergarten. It's raining outside, and she doesn't want to get wet. And I have to spend like 10 minutes discussing this because, like in the previous generation, you would just yell at your child and force them to put on their shoes, but we don't do that anymore. We actually talk to our children and we kind of try to understand each other and compromise and find a solution together. But that takes time. And eventually we did agree and we ride our bike to kindergarten. And of course she's soaking wet. And then we had to like change her clothing. And yeah, so everything took a bit more time today. And it isn't to like complain. I don't have any reason to complain about anything really, but it's kind of funny how we humans are. We have such a narrow perspective on the world. Like we can't see past anything. So it doesn't matter how good we are in general. If something feels off, out of routines, a little bit shitty, it's like the whole world coming down. It's kind of crazy. Anyways, let's get going. I'm going to buy myself a tiny shelf today, so I'm going to put like the camera right above the monitor, and I put my microphone back here in front of my mouth to give the best possible. Oh no, what happened now? Oh, it was a iPad again. For some reason the iPad disconnects. I have no idea why. It's super annoying. Anyways, let's get into coding as soon as I'll get my iPad running here again. It's like a really cool feature, this, what's it called? Where you use your iPad as a second monitor. But for me, sometimes it just stops. And then all my resolutions change. So it takes forever to turn it back on. And there we are, and let's change the screen. And there we are. Okay, so one thing I played around with this weekend was to improve the typing performance of stitches. Because it was like, it wasn't too bad, but it was like just bad enough that you notice it. Like it doesn't, like when you use React with typing, everything kind of instantly pops up all the time. But as soon as you use like a CSS and JS library, it starts to take time to get the IntelliSense and stuff. So I did a ton of research. I obsessed a lot. I was not in a good mood this weekend. But what it resulted in was this thing, which is kind of interesting because this change also allows me to help other CSS and JS libraries with their typing. And yeah, there's something wrong with this PR. I have no idea what it is. I hope to get some help to get it through, but it's on style components. And what I did is the intensive thing about TypeScript, and this changes in the different versions, it's these union types. So when you do this key of JSX intrinsic elements, it goes and it creates like a union of all the HTML elements as strings, like a, div, span, and all of these. And it does seem like it also dives into the value of these. So it looks at the type of a, the type of div, Because what I notice is if you kind of, well, it's just something it doesn't really make sense that it does that, but it seems to do that. So anyways, the fix is that in your typing, you rather use a string. And this is something I learned with TypeScript doing this research, is that it's really a good idea to be, like, if you can, don't be specific about the generic. Try to be as low level as possible. So key of JSX intrinsic elements, at a lower level, it's just a string. So if you can do that, it's way faster. The problem, though, is that in this case, it's related to the as prop on styled APIs. And now that property isn't typed anymore. It's just a string, but it's like it's an HTML element. Like you put in a div span or whatever there, so you don't need typing for that. And the point is that if you insert an invalid value there, you still get an error. So it's just that you don't get the IntelliSense, but that's the one place you don't really need it. And it's such a huge performance improvement. So what you rather do is on the generic, you use a string. And then when you actually want to use it as key of JSX intrinsic elements, you check it inline. So that's like way faster. Anyways, just wanted to mention that. And what we were going to do today, we have our little thing here. Cool. It seems to be working. All the days are open now. That's good. We need to check the code of our, well, maybe we can add the button first. We're going to have like a add button. The question is, where do we put that add button? In the current version, the add button is like up here. And I think that makes sense because you want as much room as possible. Like you want to put the settings kind of in one page. So let's try that. How should we do this? Components, add backlog item. So we have our back button. So maybe we can try to add like an add button. And this should be a styled floating button as well, I guess. But we're going to say top 1 rem and then right 1 rem like this. And then, yeah, but we can use like, I don't know if we should use an icon. Okay, let's just add it first. Top right. Or maybe we can even add it down here. At least it should be a floating thing. Okay, so let's add the add button. Just write add there, add button. Cool. There it is. Doesn't look very nice. Let's add like a background color. I guess it's main. There we go. And it's not like a very nice border here. Yeah, but I don't care about that. Did we add like a, oh yeah, we added like a black border or something. Let's do that here as well. How did I add that? Let's see, home. Oh yeah, just added a border color, of course. Border color. Yeah, so we should probably add this to like the floating button or something. Anyways, did I add, is it white? Yeah, it's white, and then color white. I can do proper styling later. I have a hard time like constantly, this is one of the most difficult things I think being a front-end developer. It's because there are some different things. You have CSS, which is, well, it's the styling. And then you have the component composition, which is like a mental game in its own. Well, first you have CSS, and then you have like the HTML, where you actually have to think about what kind of HTML elements you're using, accessibility and all that stuff. And then you have the component composition, where you might have some internal logic related to them. And then you have like the like the full-fledged state management behind that again. And then jumping through these things constantly is really annoying. I thought about this a lot, and I think that, which I'm trying to do with Overmind as well, is to allow you to not even open the browser to work on the state management. You actually have a tool built for working with the state management, and then you can rather think about the UI later. But then again, to know what you want to build in terms of state management, like state and logic, you kind of want to have some visual image of what you try to, who's your consumer? The UI is your consumer, so you want to know the needs of the consumer. So you like need a mock or something. And then if you don't have a mock, like here, well, we have this reference, of course. We could have used that on the old app. But yeah, you kind of, yeah, so basically what happens is that you constantly move between CSS, HTML, component composition, state management, and you go up and down this thing all the time. And it's actually quite frustrating. And I think it slows us down a lot. Yeah, just some thoughts on that. Okay, so we have our add button. Let's just do that. And maybe we can, yeah, because we did, yeah, let's do this now. Let's see. Overmind, backlog item, actions. I think we already have like set selection change. Didn't we create an action that actually passes in? Yeah, add backlog item. Yeah, so this should rather be on backlog item. This should be here. Yeah, let's add async action. Yes, so when we are on add backlog item and we are authenticated, we have what we need. The question is, do we actually have what we need? Because, yeah, so now we're going back into state machines again, because I guess we want a description. But the question is that really a state? Like, is that like one of the upper states of the state machine? Or is that just checking if we have a description there? Which is like a really good question. We could have like an actual add backlog item valid state or invalid state. And we could use that. But in this case, I think that's like completely overkill, because basically the only thing that we need is to have some text here. That's the requirement. We don't need to know about these things. Yeah, so I think we're going to do that now. So we're going to just add state backlog item description. Yeah, by the way, the typing thing I mentioned, what it also fixes is just the general typing experience of the app. Like loading app style components, in my experience, just slows everything down. Even the general typing for just an element in React, and I suspect even just here, like it's, yeah, it shouldn't matter like in different files and stuff, but it just slows everything down almost to a halt sometimes. It's kind of crazy. So I'm kind of excited in Code Sandbox. I'm going to try to override the style definition. No, sorry, the type definition for style components with my fix. And then I'm going to see how that affects VS Code. Because we have serious typing performance issues in the Code Sandbox project, because we have so many components and we're using style components all over the place. We're actually working on now exploring to change over to stitches. But yeah, okay. So we want to have a description as well. Oh yeah, so we're just adding, oh sorry, yeah. Didn't we add it? Oh yeah, I think this is old. So what we talked about is, okay, should you pass in the description and the date, making the UI responsible for this date, or should we put this date into Overmind and then Overmind is responsible for this. So I think we should let Overmind take responsibility for this, and I think it already does, because we have like changed description and everything. So this is just something we did a while back. We can still have an async action, because the add backlog item, that's async. I think, yes, it's async. So we can do, so what we want to pass in here, let's see, what does it want? It wants a description. So that would be a state backlog item description. And then we optionally want a date, but we want to check out our old code first to see actually what we pass in. And let's just do some fixes here. So we can only pass in here if we actually have, like, oh, sorry, we're already on backlog item. If we have a description, and by the way, I like to use Boolean because it's more explicit. The double bangs is not very explicit. It's cryptic. So it should not be disabled if we have a description. I don't know if I actually have any styling for that. Yeah, so now we can actually try to use a variant here. I wonder if, yeah, okay, let's try this now. So let's add a variant to this. Variant, so muted. And when it's muted, it should have opacity, like half the opacity or something. And maybe we can change the background color as well. That's kind of cool. Background color, gray or something. Or, yeah, like, I'm no designer. What I wonder now if this composition, the typing composition actually works here. Because I made quite a few changes and probably broken something. No, we have it here, variant. And that variant is muted if, let's see, let's move this to can add item. Let's see. Yeah, and this is also a thing. I would not do can not add item, like, because you're giving it what you should do, but you can't do it. What you rather do is you always have like positive variables, and then you use the bang to like say it's disabled when you cannot add item. Because what quickly happens if you start being like negative in in variables, you get these double negatives. So you're saying like can you're using like something like this, cannot add item, and that's like really bad. It's really hard for the brain to handle that. So if not cannot add item, we are going to add muted here, and that works. Add hello. Oh, didn't we add oh yeah, this should be fixed now, by the way. Yeah, nice. That is nice. Didn't we have another event here that we also did like an any typing on? Oops. On change. Oh, what's happening here? Oh, don't I have my I think I need to see my okay, let's fire up the DevTools. Or my DevTools. Are we running on the next version? Or my React? No. Yeah, we are. Yeah, we can run the very next version. let's see, overmind next, and then overmind react next, and then we'll run the latest DevTools. Yeah, so I'm about to release a new version of overmind. It took ages. I was trying to make the JSON, I talked about this, the JSON stringify and parsing, make it async. And I tried to do it like on request animation frame. The problem with that is it can become really, really slow. So I rather did it on like a micro task level, which at least, so it doesn't prevent janks, but it prevents freeze. Which is the most important thing. Let's see if we can get stuff running here. Yes. So, it is working. Yeah, it's kind of annoying. It seems like the hot reload causes these invalid states. I wonder why that happens. Like hot reload is amazing, but there are quite a few prerequisites for it to work properly. But yeah. Anyways. Oh yeah, I know what it was. I think it was because we moved that. No, this was the add backlog item. Yeah, I have no idea why it didn't work. Okay, but now it disables, and as soon as we have text, it's enabled. Now the cool thing about this is that what we can do now is when we actually add the item, let's do await. Oops, effects. We can actually empty out the. We can empty out the description when we click the button, and then if something goes wrong, we can put that text back in. And you could do that from within the component as well, but then you would kind of split up the logic. So for example, we would do adding the backlog item from overmind, and then we would do like the UI state management from within the component. And that's a tricky thing. Like, what is UI state? I think about this description as an application state. The application needs to know about this description to work without the UI. That's the way I think about it. Like, what does the application need in terms of state to work without the UI? And you could argue, of course, that you could just pass it in on the add backlog item, and you could do that, but then you would lose the behavior of removing the description from the app when you add the backlog item and then put it back if something goes wrong. So that's what I mean. It's like, for the application to work consistently across UIs, what state needs to be inside the actual app, in this case overmind. That's how I think about it. I'm not saying that this is how you should think about it, but yeah, that's how I think about it. So let's do a try around this, and let's say description equals state backlog item description, where we can do that all the way up here, and we can say description, and then we say state backlog item description is empty, and then if something goes wrong, we want to description, and we should call it current description. Cool. And I guess what we really want to do here is to put the application back in, like put the application in an actual error state, so that we can display an error message. But I don't want to deal with, oh, this is so typical. It's like, I want to move on now, but I should actually deal with this error state first. Should we be proper developers or should we not? Well, I guess we actually do not have time to go and look at the other code and actually implement it. So maybe we should end up by actually being proper developers and handle this error state. And then we can, tomorrow morning, we can actually implement, like finish this effect so that we pass in the data that we need to pass in. Oh, yeah, I can see now my camera stopped working again. That's annoying. I thought it was related to the frames per second. Oh, that is super, super sad. Ugh. I have no idea why that happens now. Oh. Anyways, I can think about that later. Anyways, we have an error, so we should really have a state called add backlog item error. So let's do that. Oh, do we have? Boop, boop, boop. We don't need this stuff. So we have add backlog item, and let's now add. So we have base state. Yeah, so we have backlog item profile. Oh, backlog items. Yeah. When do we actually have? Where do we use the profile? Oh, we're just exporting it. Okay. Yeah, I can't remember how we did this. Did we put like, yeah, so we created like a, oh yeah, that's true. We have like, oh, do I have profile to place this? We don't need it here then. That was confusing. Cool. Yes, so we have some state here. So I guess really we should have, oh, sorry, we actually did implement a valid and invalid state. Okay, cool. So we have a description, current selection index, date, and then we need an error. Yeah, so that, but the error is only there if we are invalid. So we can do this, error string. Well, we don't necessarily have an error there. So maybe we shouldn't call it like invalid. It's not. Yeah. So what's the difference between invalid and an error? So okay, but let's do this because this is, again, as I mentioned, this is a bit new to me to structure it this way. It makes me think very explicitly about it, which is nice. That's always good. We have the base state, and then we say error string here. So when we are on the error state, we want to be able to go back into the yeah, the question is also, are we going to actually give an indication that we are adding the backlog item? So I guess yeah, so when we have an error, it means that this is interesting. So if we start out with a valid state, and then we add the backlog item, and then we might end up with an error state. So we're still in a valid state in terms of sending in the backlog item, which means that when we are in an error state, we could move into an invalid state again, meaning you don't have any description. This is very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, so let's save this now. So maybe I'm just using the wrong terms here. I think I'm doing that. So what we're going to do is we're going to say if description, we are going to backlog item how do we do it? Transition to a valid state, and then we're going to set that thing, and then if not, we are going to return invalid, and we don't actually need to set anything. Well, we still have to set it, of course. We have to update it. Cool. And what are you complaining about? Oh yeah. Is it, is this async? Did I make all the transitions async? Yeah, I guess I did. Yeah, it returns a promise. I guess it kind of has to. Yeah, I should check that typing. Anyways, so either it's valid or it's invalid. And then here we are going to, yeah, so this is super interesting. Now we have like the current description and we want to empty it, which makes an invalid state. Oh, like thinking about this makes it so much harder. Yeah, I feel it's a good thing to think about it, because this is actually part of creating these kinds of experiences, but we kind of just don't want to think about it. We think it's overcomplicating, and in some ways, of course, it is totally overcomplicating it, but like to properly implement it in terms of valid states, you kind of have to think about this stuff. So the proper way to actually do this would be to change the description from here, which would then put us into like an invalid state, and we would do the thing. Yeah, and also like when we add the backlog item, we don't really want to be able to change anything. Yeah, so I guess we're not actually moving into an invalid state. We are moving into like a pending state. Yeah, exactly. We are moving into a pending state, and then we would say this. So state dot backlog item matches valid. Yeah, this is interesting, because now we're saying, okay, if we are on the backlog item state, we're authenticated, and the backlog item state is valid, then do this stuff. And that's actually the whole, like from the top level of the application, this is the state we need to be in to actually be able to do this. Wow, that was like a moment for me now. Being able to describe like the full state of the application this way to determine if you should be able to do this, and then you get the typing for free. Wow, that's interesting. Anyways, so what we actually want to do here, we want to return like a pending state. So we want to say return state backlog item transition into, let's introduce that state first. So it can be error, and it can also be adding or pending, adding, and that can either go to error or it can go back to valid, I guess. Invalid, I mean. Yeah, so maybe this shouldn't be like valid and invalid. It should be like idle. Yeah, idle. Like instead of invalid, it's idle or something. Anyways, let's have a look. Transition to adding. And we are going to make this async. And then we're going to run this logic. Okay. And oh no. Oh, that's so annoying. It's because this is really annoying. So TypeScript doesn't understand. This is super annoying. So what actually happens here in terms of code execution is that when we call this transition, this callback is called instantly, but TypeScript doesn't know that. So it's kind of right, like this callback might be called later, which means that all the checks we do here are suddenly gone when we go down here. But we have to do these checks to actually this is so annoying. We actually have to do these checks to figure out if we're going to run this transition at all. And then when we run it, we have to do these checks again because TypeScript doesn't know that this callback is being called instantly. Yeah, okay, but this is interesting. Maybe we actually need to... Yeah, maybe we actually need to change this again. So what we would rather do here, instead of returning this, yeah, this is interesting. Maybe this is a better way to do it. So what we would rather do is say if state transition adding, which means like if it actually transitioned successfully into that thing, then go ahead and do this stuff. Because then you keep the typing. Like this is how a TypeScript often can affect typing. TypeScript typing can affect the API. Because it basically has to work like this. The one thing that's kind of bad now is that we don't have this callback. So we don't, yeah, no, this isn't going to work. Oh, god damn it. I wish there was some way to tell TypeScript that a callback is synchronously called. Like a way to type it. So that TypeScript wouldn't be confused and think that it might be called later. Oh, put it in a variable. Yeah, let's try that. Let's try that. Is authenticated. Oh, yeah, you mean, oh, sorry, I misunderstood. Yeah, so you say profile. Yeah, maybe that's the way it needs to be handled. Yeah. Yeah, really good feedback. Yeah, I know the face camera is frozen. I have no idea what's going on there. It might be... yeah, I have no idea what's going on. I'm getting my... let's see. I have this package. I'm waiting for... Yeah, it's the power supply for the camera. I'm running on battery now, so it might be related to that. I don't know. But yeah, yeah, so maybe this is the way to actually handle that. So we check our states, we go and grab what we need, and then we can go ahead and do, but it's a little bit confusing. Like you saw how I reacted to this, I was kind of, oh, what do I do now? Yeah. Anyways, so if everything goes okay here, we are going to return backlog item transition. We're going to transition back into invalid. And then if there's an error, we are going to return backlog item. We're going to transition into an error state. Now the question then is, how do we get out of that error state? Well, I guess it will go, yeah, so in the error state if it matches valid, or can we have multiple matches here? I don't think so. We should support that. So like if it's valid or it's error. Well, I guess we can just do this. But the thing is, if we are in an error state and then we change the description, yeah, then we move into a valid or invalid, which makes it okay again. Yeah, this is interesting. Oh my god. Again, it's overcomplicating stuff, but it's interesting to think about it. Oh, what did I do? What did I do? It's supposed to be like this. There we go. Okay, so we are allowed to add a backlog item if we are in a valid or an error state. If we are in an error state, it means that we actually do have like a valid thing, because as soon as we try to change the description, we will either move into a valid or invalid state again. So this should work. Something seemingly so simple is actually really, like, all the states are actually quite complex. The question is, you can ignore it or you can try to express it, which we're trying to do here. Cool. I guess we don't really have any way to test this properly. Yeah, you see that now the hot reloading is like something is going wrong. It's interesting. Or no, we actually have an error here now. Okay, so so if we have, let's see, if we have a description, we're moving into, oh, it's because we already are in a valid state. It doesn't trigger the callback again. Oh, God damn it. I'm thinking about this the wrong way. Yeah, so how do you express that? Do we just check? No, we don't really care. Like, we always, so we always want to update the description. It doesn't matter what state we are in. Unless we are actually adding. That's when we don't want it to be able to add it. Okay, so backlog oh, this is so interesting. So if we are if not we are matching adding, then we do allow updating the description. And the point again is, this isn't about like the disabled state of the input, because that's the UI that disables that, and maybe some other person does that. The point is that if someone were to forget to disable it, or do what, maybe it's a UI that isn't able to disable it, we still want to ensure that we don't change the text while we are adding a new item. That's the whole point. Yeah, so if we are not adding an item, we'll update the description. If we don't have a description, we have it down here. If we don't have a description, then we're going to return an invalid state. Oh yeah, and then it starts complaining because I'm returning here. Yeah, but we can say, okay, so if description return backlog item transition valid, And there we go. That's how it needs to be expressed. Cool. So now it should be perfectly fine. And then if we were to, we can test this now. So we can do like, just to, yeah, we're way over time now. Sorry about that. So we can do like a thing here where we await a promise, new promise, resolve, and then we have like a set timeout of like 5 seconds, resolve, and then in theory, oh sorry, resolve 5 seconds. So in theory, when we try to add a backlog item, we should not be able to change the text. So we can change the text, we try to add it, and I can still, god damn it. Oh wait, sorry, did I actually add the action to the button? No. Oh, good thing. So on click backlog item and backlog item. Okay, let's try again. Let's do a proper thing here now. Let's add hello, and then I click add. God damn it, why am I still able to add it? Didn't I change? Oh, sorry. Sorry. Did I actually, where are we? Oh, yeah, sorry. No, return backlog item dot transition adding. So did that actually happen? No, that didn't happen. Because what state was I in? Nothing happened when I added the backlog item, which means that it didn't think I could go down here for some reason. Why didn't it think I could go down there? What the hell has happened here? Oh, damn it. It's my async JSON thing. God damn it. It doesn't parse. Oh, it doesn't do to JSON automatically. Ah! Yes, of course. That's something natively it does. If it has a toJSON method, it tries to call that. But my implementation doesn't do that. Okay, let's just continue. We just have to check this. Let's just log out the state. I'm curious why this didn't work, because we did so much thinking here, so it should work. That's the state there. And it's okay, so it was add backlog item and authenticated. And it matches valid. Why didn't it continue? Oh, it did continue. Oh, sorry. Sorry. We didn't make adding a valid transition from valid. Of course. That's my bad. Maybe we should give like some warnings that if you try to transition into a state, yeah, we need to add that. So if I'm testing the developer experience here now. So if we try to move into transition into a state and that it's ignored, then we should give like a warning about that. Like it's the behavior we want because it is an invalid state transition, but we don't really give a hint to the developer now. So we need to handle that. Okay, let's try again. So I think it actually did work. God damn it. For fuck's sake. Ah. Oh, sorry. I put it in the wrong place. My bad. Sorry about that. Again. Add. Oh, sorry. Because now we actually removed it. We have to comment that out as well. So, like for our demo. There we go. Add. I can't do anything. And then after 5 seconds, it works again. Yeah, so this is actually, it works exactly as intended. It's just that we should actually give a hint. We should actually give a hint. When we move, try to transition a state and it doesn't work. Because either it means that you are running some logic you didn't intend, which is nice to be aware of, or you actually forgot to add it as a valid transition. So that's something we can write in the warning. Cool, but this is good. And what I kind of like about this session we did now is that we actually went through quite of a simple thing to implement. Every developer would say, yeah, no problem to create that screen. But it actually has a ton of different complex states, which I find super, super fascinating. Cool. That's it for now. Hopefully I'll be able to fix the camera. It doesn't really matter, again, for this kinds of session, but I need to get it fixed no matter. Thanks for following along, and thanks a bunch for the comments, Christopher, because that would that helped us bypass that thing. And I think you're right. We need to do it like this because we need to have this in a callback to secure mutations and stuff. We need to know when you start the transition and when the transition actually ends. So that's, it needs to work like this. Cool. Bye for now. See you tomorrow.